I wanted to do a little update. This is a 66 Plymouth Fury. When I bought it, it already had this 318 poly in it, and it had push button transmission. You could tell the engine had been swapped in, and I got looking. I believe the car had a 6-cylinder in it to start with column shift. And when I got the car, put the carburetor on it, got it running, but the steering angle, on the steering angle, you could only turn them about that far. So you could change lanes, but you have to do a 3-point turn to get out of your driveway. So I got looking, it was hitting the oil pan. The drag link was hitting the oil pan, or the linkage was. So I got looking, and my kickdown rod was also bound between the block and the bell housing and the firewall. So I got looking more. Anyway, this had been cobbled in there, and they had just made everything fit to get it in here. So the engine was set too far back, and therefore the oil pan was interfering with the linkage. So I looked at different options on it, and I was thinking about trying a truck oil pan, but that didn't give me enough clearance either. So what I wound up doing is I'm sliding the engine forward 1 inch. I have the engine, you can see I've got it probably spaced forward about a 1/2 to 5/8 of an inch now, and just at that I can get full lock on my steering now, and it comes real close to the oil pan. So I'm going to shim it forward about 1 inch, and then that'll give me all the clearance I need. I won't have any oil pan, everything will be clearing there. So I'm building spacers. When I took the cross member loose, and I took the transmission loose from the cross member, and I pulled the bolts out here. I just hooked my crane to it, put floor jack under drive shaft, and I slid it forward about 1/4 inch, and it stopped. And I got looking, and the reason they put the engine here is because it's got the old ball and trunnion drive shaft in it, and it was catching. So I had to pull the drive shaft out this morning to free the engine up where I could pull it forward. So I'm gonna build spacers to put in my gaps, and then I'm gonna have to have my drive shaft extended about 1 inch. And hopefully when I do that, then that should give me clearance to hook up my kick down, get all that working right. It'll give me clearance for my steering. And while I've got the drive shaft out, I'm gonna go on and rebuild the ball and trunnion on the front of it. You can get the kits for those. It's not too bad. I think the hardest part about the whole thing is if you don't press the cross pin out, which is real tricky it's got to be precise, when you put it back in, or else you'll have a vibration because your drive shaft will be offset. So you can work the boot through from the inside, through the inside of the front yoke, and pull it out. You just have to use a lot of grease and a couple of loop wires out of coat hanger or something to pull it through, and have to work. It takes a minute, but it's a whole lot better than risking having your drive shaft out of line. So I'm gonna get my drive shaft extended. First I'm gonna get my engine bolted down, get all my measurements exactly where I need, and I'm gonna have to build a extension plate on my cross member. Like I said, they just kind of cobbled everything in here and put it where it would fit, and I guess they gambled on it clearing, or maybe they didn't even notice they were having clearance issues. But that's where I'm at on this, and hopefully, I was hoping just pull the engine forward and I could go drive it, but now when I get the engine pulled forward, I can steer it, but then I got to extend my drive shaft probably around 1 inch. So I'll revisit that. But this 318, it works good. I've got the transmission shifting good. It needs a front windshield in it, and this is a project I took on. I was looking for sheet metal for another car, and this guy had this one advertised. It had been sitting about 10 years. But when I went and looked at it, it was in such good condition. It was straight. It had very little body work done to it. It had very little rust on it. It looks good under the bottom. So I wasn't going to use it for sheet metal. So instead of buying this to fix another one, I just bought this to put back on the road and either drive it as a family cruiser, go to cruise night, whatever, or sell it to somebody else that would enjoy it. I tend to lean more toward hot rod stuff, but this car is pretty neat, and it came with good straight bumpers. The guy was pulling it apart when he got sick and passed away, and he had all the stuff was sitting in the shop with it, so he was just gonna repaint it, and then elderly guy, and he got sick, so, and the windshield got busted sitting in the shop, so I had to buy a windshield. So instead of fixing some other project, I just wound up with an extra project. But I think the car is in way too solid condition to butcher up and part out to fix something else, to me anyway. So I'm gonna get this thing, have it kind of a survivor back on the road, and either I'll drive it or I'll pass it on to someone. I have a gentleman in my church that is really interested in it once I get it where he can drive it, and then he'll go through the interior and do all the final details and make it his. So I just want to give y'all an update on that, and when I get to the rebuilding of the drive shaft, I'll probably do a video on that. Y'all have a good day.